Good evening, and welcome to this edition of In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WCTV Channel 11. I'm Eric Marsh, Executive Director of Whitewater Community Television, and once again, In Focus is obviously not in the studio. We have found an absolutely beautiful day, and when you get one of those, you hang out in the park. So that's what I'm doing, playing hooky, baby. So I had to find somebody to hang out with me, so I went to the foundation. Steve Borchers, who never has anything to do, has decided anyone, anywhere, right? Has decided to spend a little time with me. So first of all, Steve, thank you very much for coming out to the park with us.
Thank you, Eric.
If the splash pad was up, we could roll up our pants and.
Sorry, I thought you were going to be set up. You know, stand me up in the splash pad.
We think about it all the time.
That's right.
Last September, you and Pat Heine were on In Focus talking about Forward Wayne County and early learning initiatives. One of the things that I've noticed in this community sometimes is that things get kind of rolled out to the community and then the community never hears about them again.
That's right.
And I think you've probably been a part of some of those through no fault of anybody's. Things just keep moving, but the community never gets updates.
Right.
So I wanted to kind of have you on for a few minutes to see if we could update a little bit some people as to what's happening with the whole idea of Forward Wayne County. And for those who missed your September interview, why don't you tell us a little bit about what that initiative is?
Thank you. Forward Wayne County is an idea, a framework, I guess, a conversation that is designed to help us better align community resources around economic vitality and personal prosperity. And we think the way to do that, to be most effective at doing that, is to do those things that will promote, that will help attract, develop, and retain a more competitive workforce. And the things that go into that are human capital development and quality of place issues.
Okay.
And so part of the human capital development side of the equation includes a lot of educational related things, and that's probably what Pat and I were talking about. Mm-hmm. And that can range all the way from birth to 5 kinds of initiatives and early preschool education, all the way through ideas to promote greater access to and greater success at post-secondary education, and to be more to be more work ready, to enhance employability skills, to do those things that are going to make us more attractive as a community to employers and to existing employers who need an improved workforce, who need a higher quality workforce in order for them to be more efficient. And so it's not it's never been a question of is it a chicken or egg thing. Do you have will you attract more employers if you have a better workforce, or do you need to have a better workforce to attract more employers? And whichever way that goes. Sounded like a heads I win, tails you lose situation, but it's never been an either or question. It's always an and both.
Okay.
And so Forward Wayne County is a framework or a structure that we hope will help better align community resources with respect to identified, accepted, and measurable goals to help do those things we need to do to make us grow.
The meetings around this have been going on really for how long now?
A while. We have 2 sets of meetings. There's been what we call leadership forum, which is a big group of people. It's open invitation. We have people on a list. We'll remind them about it periodically, but it's not a set schedule. Mm-hmm. But we want a lot of people involved in that, and because that's where we float some ideas, that's where we help spread the word about what's going on, and help people align their own organization's interests to the bigger picture. And then there's a steering committee that's been sort of self-appointed so far, that will more and more as we get into this, begin to act like a board of directors and really help set an agenda for those things that set those priorities for the what we think are important in the community to get done.
One of the things that you mentioned was goals, being able to hit goals, attain. Have you been able to set markers to this point for where the conversation should go? And do you feel like you've been able to hit those and move the needle?
Yeah.
Or is it just more conversation?
We're just beginning, and this is really a long-term proposition when you're talking about things like poverty rates and population gain or decline. These kind of educational attainment kinds of issues. Mm-hmm. These are long-term propositions, and so what's become important is trying to set the near-term or short-term objectives that we think will play into those longer-term goals. And that's really been a process that the steering committee's been involved with now for some time, and it's an ongoing process. Mm-hmm. One of the things that's really first on the list, so to speak, is we're talking about hiring an executive director or a program director that would be someone who could wake up every morning thinking about what's the most important thing to do next, and help connect some of these dots on a day-to-day basis. And so we've been really involved here recently in identifying enough dollars to be able to really think seriously about bringing a person on board. And hiring that person to take on that role. And we try and assure that for like the next 3 years. So we make sure we give ourselves a good track record, a good runway. We intend that the foundation, Wayne County Foundation, will incubate this project during that period, and at the end of 3 years, be able to really better determine what sort of progress we've been able to make, and whether it's worth a continued investment or not.
You found those dollars. You've actually put out a job description for that person. No one is hired, at least at the recording of this particular interview, but you have kind of set some goals as to where you would like to see that person begin.
Right. As
they start, kind of a 3+1, I think you call them near-term goals.
Right. Yeah, those, and of course I don't remember what they are. But
I have cheat sheets.
I know. Yeah. Oh yeah. Let me. No. The near-term goals really relate to employability and workforce development, mm-hmm. and early childhood education. I believe broadly encompasses those three things, and then the +1 is a communication plan that we hope to put together. But it was a really great experience because the organizations that we went to help us fund this, mm-hmm. Were very clear that they wanted us to develop these short-term goals and have some measurable expectations for ourselves in the next 6 to 12 months. And so that was a good process and good direction, and they're really it's really still under development, if you will.
One of the things that really struck me was that almost +1, being able to update the community in relatable terms as to what's going on. I mentioned almost jokingly near the beginning of this conversation that that's a piece that always seems to be missed. So the community always has this feeling of there's nothing going on, there's conversation, and that's all that's happening, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I assume it was very intentional, and you just talked about the group of people that you went through. Was that piece of keeping the community up to date with what's going on, was that a piece of what they wanted?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And from the beginning, we've said we need to, we're doing a lot of good things here, and there's a lot of good things going on, but we have to move from collective conversation to collective action. And that's really what Forward Wayne County is all about, is to better align these resources, a lot of which are already in place, to add to them where we need to, but to really better align what we're doing to enable us to get some synergy out of that, to really be more effective, to help everyone understand what everyone else is doing. And so that, for example, that an organization that is out doing those things to pursue its own mission will be able to make decisions about what they do with respect to the big picture goals. So we're not asking anyone to do something different than what they're doing. We're asking them to think about how they're doing it with respect to what the big picture is.
Once you get the executive director hired, brought in, they work through their goals, how often do you plan to continue kind of meeting, updating, and what is that person's biggest responsibility to start off with?
Well, the steering committee has been meeting monthly, and I would expect that to continue. There will likely be an executive committee of the steering committee to work more directly with this individual on a more frequent basis. And we have a list of things identified for that person when he or she comes on board to begin to do what to do first, so to speak. But I think really the communication plan would probably be tops on the list, because it relates to all the other pieces of the effort, and that's sort of from scratch to create that. The other things on the list relate to bringing together certain groups of people and facilitating certain things that already have some start to them to some degree. So I would put a real emphasis on the communication plan.
I'm going to kind of turn, because we're probably in our last couple of minutes here, and really kind of put you as executive director of the foundation on the spot, because in that role, you see, hear, have a lot of conversation with a number of different people, not-for-profit organizations, government leaders, community leaders, about what's going on. What do you see from your seat are a couple of our biggest challenges right now as a community, and do you see the synergy of people working together to solve those things?
Yeah, I think we can define some of the bigger challenges in terms of opportunity. And right now, we've got a number of properties here in the downtown area that will need redevelopment. We've got all the construction that's going on in town is going to leave us in a much better place. And so how do you leverage that? How do you build on that once all that is done? The old Reed hospital property is coming down, and so to get, I know people have been thinking about that and what to do with that property, but to bring together some different groups of people to look at a long-term use for that property, for the Elder Beaman building, for some other things that are around near the downtown area, as well as out in the county. What are the next steps beyond the ones that are in progress right now? And so let's get ahead of that curve and begin to get in front of those things.
Do you see us better making the connection between Richmond and the rest of Wayne County? There's always been this push-pull, one doesn't feel as loved as the other one. I know that there has been some conversation about trying to make it a more cohesive unit, and there are a number of initiatives that the state has started where working regionally makes more sense.
Right.
Are we getting our house in order here?
Well, I'd like to think so. The foundation has always been focused on the county level, and really everything we get involved in, that's a question we ask. And even if it's Richmond centric, well, how does that relate to the rest of our community? And I think there's been a tremendous emphasis on really not making that division but really approaching things from the standpoint of, hey, this is our community. How do we make it better for everyone? And you've got to start somewhere. So that's what this process of identifying the short-term objectives really is all about. But there's nothing Richmond or not Richmond about educational attainment. There is nothing Richmond or not Richmond about early childhood education and those kinds of needs and developing those resources. And there's nothing particularly Richmond or not Richmond about making sure young people are prepared to be productive in the workforce.
What's next for the foundation? Wayne County Challenge is coming around. I assume you all are beginning to think about and bring people in to talk about that.
Absolutely. We're in some planning modes right now for the challenge match. But I expect it. We budgeted for that. It'll be in the fall, probably in the usual November time frame. I don't see a lot of big changes right now to the challenge match, but that committee hasn't met yet, so you never know what'll happen. But we want to keep it challenging, but I don't think you'll see any wholesale changes.
Steve Borchards, Executive Director of the Wayne County Foundation. I hope you enjoyed being out of the office and in the sun at least.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Sherry Harlan, host for Read Beside You. On this month's episode, we will be speaking with Dr. Mario Lee from Reed Orthopedics.
And I think one of the common questions that I get in the beginning is just to clear up any types of misunderstanding is, what is arthritis and is it the same as osteoporosis?
Join us Thursdays at 8 o'clock, WETV Channel 20.
And we continue with In Focus here on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. Changed locations and got a chance to speak with Caleb Smith. Most of you know him as somebody with the Richmond Parks and Recreation Department. You may not know anything else about him except that, and that he does the farmers market. So yeah. Caleb, thanks a lot for taking some time on this day.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So
let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
You're not originally from the Richmond, Wayne County area.
Nope.
Tell us a little bit about you, how you got here.
Sure, yeah. So I'm originally from New Hampshire, southern New Hampshire near Concord. And I grew up there my whole life. My family was Quaker. And when I was about 13, I went to a Quaker boarding school in Iowa called Scattergood Friends School. And it was a agricultural focused Quaker high school. So I was there up until I came to Earlham, and Scattergood has a long history of sending students off to Earlham, so that
really?
kind of helped out.
Okay.
Yeah, so New Hampshire, Iowa, Richmond.
All right.
Yeah.
You found Earlham.
Yeah.
Then you found the community surrounding it.
Yeah.
What was your original thought, and what were you originally told when you came to Earlham and Richmond?
So I had actually never visited Earlham or Richmond before I came. I have a lot of family that went to Earlham, and it was sort of one of those schools that, I had applied some other places. Turns out that I was looking at all my options, and Earlham was the best fit for me. So I said, okay, I guess I'll go to Earlham. And I showed up in Richmond in August of 2013. And I really had no clue what it was going to be about. And I mean, I was just a 17-year-old kid, kind of still getting my bearings on the world at large. Sure. So I don't know, I liked it. kind of right off the bat. I didn't get out much my first couple of years beyond campus, but I biked around and I started to get a feel for things. And for me, having lived in small towns most of my life, it kind of felt like a big city. So,
okay. So you're used to someplace smaller than here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I had always, visited bigger cities and stuff being from the East Coast, but it was kind of the first time I'd really lived in a big city where the streets had numbers and letters and all that stuff. And so I liked it right off the bat. There's always this kind of pervading myth at Earlham, I think, that there's nothing to do in Richmond. Richmond's kind of just this other thing that, we don't really go there. I never liked that personally. I always kind of was just like, well, I'm finding things to do just because, I'll go on Facebook or I'll go out in the community, go to Roscoe's or something, and I'll see posters, and I don't know, I like to think I'm an observant person, so I'd see things and be like, well, there's definitely stuff going on. I didn't get much chance to do much of it my first couple of years, but came to be my senior year and I was able to move off campus. We got an apartment in town, right close to downtown, still live there today, and started really spending more time visiting. I'd go and visit the farmer's market because it was only a couple blocks from my house.
There you go.
That's a little clue for later on. But I would do that, and I'd go to Roscoe's, and me and my girlfriend was working in town, and so we all started to get a much better sense of that, there's something going on in Richmond that seems really neat. And Elster Plaza was being built at the time that I started living off campus, so I would drive past this every day and see the progress happening, and so that was pretty exciting for me. It was just, that was sort of my first inkling, I guess.
So there is still that, and I'm not originally from here. When I moved here in '88 and saw the Earlham campus, and I go, what is that? And people go, don't worry about it. They keep to themselves, we keep to ourselves.
Yep.
There is still that difference, the same way there's a difference between Richmond and Western Wayne County almost.
Right.
There's this divider between Richmond and Earlham.
Yeah, and it's strange to me because there's so much potential, I think, to have there be more interface, and I think there used to be in the past. When I hear people talk about my dad went to Earlham in the late 60s, early 70s, and talks about, they'd be involved with different groups on and off campus. More people lived off campus then. There would be more conversations, more people worked off campus, all that kind of stuff. They'd be involved. And so I think it hasn't always been that way, but in the past 30 years or so, there's been definitely this this bubble that I'd love to see break down more. I think there's a lot of potential for Earlham, both in classes and academic experiences, but also in just the way people can live in the community and participate in the community. I think, student concerts could be happening here at Elster Plaza, or art shows and downtown businesses, things like that could all kind of happen a lot more, and I hope to see that they do soon.
You mentioned going to school, having kind of that agriculture background. You mentioned visiting the farmers market.
Yeah.
From that visiting the farmers market, how did you connect with the Parks Department and become basically the coordinator of the farmers market?
So my senior year at Earlham, I was an environmental studies major. So I focused on both the economics, environment, all things related to kind of environmental policy and culture. Our senior project, every year the seniors try to do a project that kind of is a practical application of their knowledge over the past 4 years to a real world local issue. And so my senior year, our project was working with the Parks Department on the Playground with a Purpose at Clear Creek Park. And so I first met Denise when she came in to present some different ideas to us. And as the park superintendent, she had a bunch of different ideas on here's what we could be doing together. And my group chose the Playground with a Purpose. And that was kind of my first tie-in with the community in a serious way. And it was just an amazing experience getting to work and give back to the community and get so much exposure to what Richmond is actually like, contrary to what I've been hearing over my past 3 years at Earlham, and then also to really learn about what is Richmond's parks and what is the Richmond community like. And so from that, and this is kind of, it really shows how small of a community Richmond is. So one of my professors at Earlham in the Environmental Studies Department, her husband sells bread at the farmer's market. And so she told me, hey, the Parks Department is looking for a new farmer's market coordinator. And I'd been involved with the student farm at Earlham, and I'd been involved with agriculture previously. She's like, this seems up your alley. And I kind of was like, oh, I don't know. I'm not sure what my post-graduation plans are. And I was in a meeting with Denise for the Playground with a Purpose project, and it crossed my mind. And after the meeting, I said, hey, Denise, are you still hiring for that farmer's market job? And she was like, well, actually, the application is just closed the past Friday. This was a Monday. No, it was a Tuesday. The application just closed past Friday, but if you're interested, get me a resume. I said, oh, I am. And she's like, well, can you interview this Thursday? So Tuesday, I leave this meeting, I go home, I prep my resume for her, I send it to her on Wednesday. Thursday, I go in to interview. Then the following Monday, and this is in late January, she calls me, she's like, you got the job. And so within a span of a week, I was like, oh, okay.
Now you know what your post-graduation plans are.
I had my post-grad plans, and when I told some of my professors, they couldn't believe it. They said, you got a job in your field, where you want to be, and it pays, like all of the above, and it was really, really amazing.
Gotta love the trifecta.
Yeah, it was the trifecta, and we were able to get me started. I worked short hours while I was finishing up my degree, and then the same day I graduated, I ran my first market. So I got up at 6 in the morning, I got down here, I prepped all the vendors, got them in their spots, and then Denise and someone else came and took over, and I put on my cap and gown and I went and graduated. So that was a busy day and a busy weekend for me.
Talk about the vendors. Talk about how the farmers market has changed over the last couple of years. It looks like the number of vendors have grown. They're under certain restrictions. I think you go out and look at their farms and do some other things. Tell us a little bit about how that came about and what the emphasis behind that is.
Yeah, so first off, I'd say one of the biggest kind of changes that the farmers market has undergone is location, and Elstra Plaza is just the perfect home for us. I credit a lot of the current success of the market to having this wonderful location that the city invested in. And then furthermore, we do a growers only policy at the market. So that's what you're talking about, where I go out and I physically inspect each farm to make sure that every vendor is actually growing or making what they're selling, and restrict on that to make sure that it really is a market that supports our local economy and isn't just a pass-through for people to help, as a side gig. We really want this to be a reflection of our local economy, and so that's made a big difference. And it ruffled some feathers at first, but I think it was really the right decision. So when the Parks Department took it over, we instituted that policy, and it made the market go through some changes, but they were necessary, and I think it's benefited the market as a whole. We have customers coming back who are saying, I came back because you guys instituted this policy. I had left because it just wasn't worth it. It was just like going to the grocery store, but outside.
Sure.
And so making that change has been enormously beneficial to us. And I think it's really made the market what it is today.
The addition of the winter farmers market,
Yeah.
That also seemed to take off. The locations and being able to have a Bloody Mary helps too, I imagine.
Absolutely, yeah. So that was a really great partnership we were able to put together, and just having a winter farmers market, people don't think that you can buy things from a farmers market in the winter because they think farmers, they think, your sweet corn, tomatoes, stuff like that. But we do have farmers who grow year round. They have greenhouses where they'll grow greens, carrots, turnips, all that kind of more cold hardy products. And then we have all of our other vendors who do the value added products, baked goods, jams and jellies, all that stuff as well, that people look forward to when coming to the farmers market. And it's gift giving season in the winter, and I love seeing so many people supporting local when doing their gift shopping. I think that's really, really great, because it is a time of high spending for a lot of people, and so if we can make those dollars stay local, that's really important.
You got called out by the mayor during his State of the City address. Did
was not
you
expecting
know
that.
that was going to happen?
No.
What was it like sitting there and getting that call out?
It was very surprising. I was very grateful for his recognition, and I obviously don't do it for the recognition, but it was nice to see that there is a lot of people, young people like me, putting work into the community and hoping to shape it, and seeing that recognized was really nice.
And beyond being recognized by the mayor, you were recognized as a young professional here recently.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thanks, yeah. I was really grateful. HYPE, Helping Young Professionals Engage, is a great organization, and they recognized me and a bunch of other people my age for our dedication to the area. And it was a really neat ceremony, and I was just really grateful to be able to be a part of that and be recognized. It was a great honor. Really nice.
Talked about the young people. You did. Mm-hmm. There are more young people in this community. The mayor has talked about the fastest growing demographic.
Absolutely.
As a young person that isn't from here, came here, found this community, has stayed in this community, talk a little bit about, as you look around, what our leaders, community leaders, political leaders, need to think about to attract more young people, more young professionals into town who might want to come, stay, raise their family. What are we lacking? What do we have that's good? Give us some background.
I think we're on the right track. And we need to really double down on some of our efforts. I think things like really revitalizing downtown in the Depot District, the Loop Project, are all great steps in attracting people to stay here. I'd say, as an Earlham graduate, one of the biggest things is knowing what the opportunities are. I kind of stumbled into my opportunity, but there are lots and lots of people, and the Parks Department does a great job. We have, I think, at least a dozen Earlham graduates working in the Parks Department right now.
Really?
In everything from maintenance, our floral and beautification team, to the recreation staff, interns, and full-time staff, part-time staff. So, really trying to reach out and work with Earlham grads, work with IU East grads, to get opportunities out in front of them, and show what an attractive place Richmond and Wayne County is to live, because it is really attractive as a grad with a lot of debt, and someone who wants to make a difference in the world. I always tell friends of mine at Earlham that are considering where to go after graduation, I like, Richmond's a place where you can make a difference. It's a small enough community that people are open and willing, and there is a need. And if you're willing to invest and make yourself a part of the community, you can really make that happen. And
that's important to your generation, as it is.
To our generation, I think, is this idea of making a difference and doing something meaningful with yourself, that's also, what's the word? Sustainable for you as a person. And so I think that's a really important factor. I think things like recreation opportunities, I'm a little biased coming from the Parks Department, but seeing the opportunities I have, and knowing that there's more coming down the pipeline, that there's a reservoir that we can go and boat at, play at, the trails, all that kind of stuff is attractive to me as a millennial. And then,
when they say quality of life issues or quality of place issues, that's really the attractive piece of it for you all.
Yeah, it's this quality of place, and the experience. I think when we talk about the business side of things, it's the experience-driven businesses that really attract me personally. So most of my shopping I do online. That's just me and my generation. But when I'm going out and buying something, it's like, I want to go to the farmer's market because it's experience driven. I could buy that same produce online. Right. Not the same produce. I could buy produce online, but it's the experience of going to the farmer's market. Or when I go to Roscoe's, I could go to Starbucks, but I prefer to go to Roscoe's because of the experience I get there. Those kinds of things are really what I enjoy. And so more things like that, I think, are definitely helpful. The events in Wayne County are also just I don't think a lot of people at Earlham really realize how much there is to do because it's all in the summer.
Okay.
And so we need to round out those experiences year round, I think, to really make sure that there are fun things for people to do year round, and keep people coming out into the community and doing fun things. So I really enjoy that personally, and would love to see more of that as well.
Cool. Caleb, thank you very much for taking some time. Thanks for the time and effort that you have put into this community, into making it better, for sticking around and for working through the farmers market. It's one of the places that I enjoy visiting and going to see and talking to the farmers. So thank you for spending some time with us out in the sun today.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking with you.
What's more, 2 of the students involved in the Playground with a Purpose project found their passion for Richmond and decided to stay after graduation. As a matter of fact, one of them now works full-time in our Parks Department and has grown our farmers market by leaps and bounds. He's jumped right in with our Parks team and assisted them in accelerating their mission to deeper integrate our Parks programming into the community. This year-round programming captivates citizens of all ages to interact and enjoy our beautiful park system.
And welcome back to In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. Yes, we've changed locations again, but I'm still outside. We have moved down to McBride Stadium, where we have a chance to talk with Deanna Beaman, General Manager of, let's see, what's the name? Richmond
Jazz.
Jazz.
Yes.
Okay. You know, and I have to think about those names. The only way I've really known you is through your association with baseball here in this community. The Roosters, the Riverettes, and the Jazz. What got you involved in baseball to begin with?
You know, I have to think back because I went to, obviously being from the Richmond Wayne County area and getting my degree in Bloomington at Indiana University, just very excited to be in the sports management field. I never thought I would select baseball, honestly, when I was going through, and the Roosters were in town my junior year of college, and so great opportunity to come and get my feet wet with that. And I just dove right in, and I loved it, and I love McBride, and I love the atmosphere and the people that you meet. And so here I am, over 15 years later, still, having the passion for baseball and McBride.
You got your feet wet, and now you're...
Yes, I'm all in now.
Sometimes in over your head, it seems like.
Yes.
A lot of changes taking place. Now, first of all, for those people who don't know what the Jazz is, this is a little different than the first two endeavors in.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about the league, where you get your players from.
Absolutely. So the Richmond Jazz are part of the Great Lakes Summer Collegiate League. We're based out of Troy, Ohio. A lot of the teams in our league that we play are Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, and just recently have been able to expand into Canada. So we're kind of this inner Midwest summer team. Summer leagues are booming like crazy. It has taken off. This summer collegiate situation has taken off. Lots of teams, lots of different leagues across the U.S. really. And so we're fortunate to be back in Richmond and have this team. We're also part of the Hitters Hangout Sports Foundation. So we are officially a 501c3 organization. All of the teams in our league are set up this way. And one of the main reasons is because we are also a part of Major League Baseball. And so in order for us to write grants and receive funding for some of the team expenses that we have, that is the way that we are able to secure that funding to help offset some of our baseball costs. So that's kind of how the basis of the Great Lakes League was designed from a business standpoint, because it's an opportunity for us to go out to businesses and organizations, presenting ourselves with this particular status kind of turns heads in a different way. How can we help you? And so that's been super exciting for our league. As far as players are concerned, we draw from basically any college in the area. Over 70% of our players in the league are from a D1 school. But the great thing about the diversity of our teams is that there are athletes who are from all different levels of the collegiate scheme of baseball. So it could be Division 1, 2, 3, junior college kids. It's just a variety of all of those. And I think that's what's unique about the summer experience, is bringing all of those baseball minds together with a very different outlook on the game, but all here because of one thing, which is baseball.
What attracts the students or the kids to the summer league? Is it to work on particular skills? Is it because the coach said you need to do this? Or are they honing their skills so that they have a better shot at the next level?
Well, I think it comes from the top down. Major League Baseball is all about developmental players and how do we get players ready for that next level. And so that's where summer ball comes in. And so while college coaches are busy with their seasons, they look at the off season and summer as an opportunity to just keep guys, mindful and focused, and still understanding the conditioning piece of still getting workouts in even though you've gone home. So I think there is pressure from the coaches to, hey, you need to play somewhere, because one, it keeps you in front of scouts year round. So they might be seen by scouts at their school or as they're traveling in their conferences or out of conference play, but summer is a little bit of a different setting, and it sees players in a different element with other very talented athletes around them. So I think that's one piece of it. I think the other piece is that some folks are looking for a place to play close to home. So geographically, when coaches and players have that conversation about, hey, where can I spend my summer? They consider hometowns. What is near your hometown? How can I live at home, maybe get a job, and then also play and condition and work out and be in front of scouts? So I think a combination of all of those things really play into where people go. And ultimately, they do choose Richmond. I mean, they could play in Cincinnati or in Xenia or other places in our league, but Richmond is a very unique community from that standpoint. Thirdly and finally, I think our coaches, obviously, and our staff and our connections in baseball, we keep those relationships with coaches for a reason. I mean, they're looking for places they call us every year and say, hey, we're going to send you 3 guys, So, I mean, that connection's always there. And it's a safe place. Coaches want players, and they want their players to be taken care of. They want to trust the summer coach with who they're putting their number 1 or number 2 arm with, or, offensively their best hitter with. I mean, they just want to know they're taken care of. And so Richmond offers that.
I know a couple of weeks ago you had an ad out looking for homes for some of the players. Does everybody have a place to sleep?
We're still looking. At no time does host families ever stop, but we're unique in the fact that players are able to stay with host families, and so it's a unique opportunity for the player to go into a home and get to know a family, and it's kind of like home away from home. And so you build relationships with those athletes. And I think for us, we host a player, or actually we host the coaches, and it's just great to see that dynamic of the coach, with your kids or out of baseball, and just having that influence on them outside of the game as well. So we're constantly looking for host families. That's a never-ending project, Eric.
Are there very many players on this year's team that actually get to come home and sleep in their own beds? Do you have a number of local players this year?
We do. We have a piece, and that's one of the things that we're excited about this year. We kind of have 3 or 4 guys that are able to come home and take advantage of living at home. Austin Turner, who was a Richmond graduate, who's now playing at the collegiate level, he'll be joining us this summer. Garrett Welch, which is out of Newcastle, Indiana, he'll be joining us this year. And so we just have a variety of guys that we're able to attract that local crowd a little bit. It's fun to come home and see, your athlete play, or, with friends and families that they normally don't get to see if they're on the road traveling.
Right.
So we're excited about those additions to our team.
Beyond the players, there's a lot that happens behind the scenes. The office over there is always bustling with activity. Is that still another place where people involved in sports management, sports marketing get a chance to do internships and kind of learn that way too?
Yeah, and I'm glad you bring that up, because we are, our programs are designed to develop a student at this particular juncture. Myself, having been an intern and worked my way up, I kind of understand the process of that, and I want that experience to be as good for that student as we can. So this year we have 7 interns that are fulfilling their internships with us. Uniquely, one of those also happens to be playing for the Jazz. So while he's playing and during his daytime, he's actually in with us helping deliver tickets in the community or do events or fulfill his internship requirements. So we're fortunate to be able to offer the sports management internship right here, and so we're excited about that. We have 7 great students. In fact, they were in all day today getting things ready and organized. But what a great group of young, talented people who are coming from outside the Wayne County area. Some are inside Wayne County, but some are outside there,
right,
and really getting to put their skills and talents to use here at Richmond, and maybe attract them one day to live, work, and play here. I mean, you just don't know. So
this place has had a very rich history of baseball. This is a facility that has also had some challenges. And it's a facility that right now is still having some challenges. Your opening day is the 12th?
We open on Tuesday, June 12th.
Right now, to get here, we couldn't come in off of Main. Are you having conversations with NDOT, the city, or whoever is doing that as to what their timetable is and how that can get moved along so that people can actually come and have a good experience at the ballpark?
We hope so, yes. We have had some conversations with our direct, my direct contact within the city is the park superintendent, and working alongside Denise Retz and making those things happen. And we have conversations about 13th Street and what that looks like, and how can we, inform the general public, the outside visitors coming into our community, that yes, there's the stadium, and oh yes, if you finagle your way back in there, you can actually get in and park and come see a game. So for us, there is a challenge there this year with the construction that's going on. Unfortunately, the timetables are very, are not specific to what we would like, but we understand that some of that's out of their control. But we do hope that we have the support of all of those members to help promote the Jazz and let them know that yes, this team is here, and yes, we have games, and here is how you can access McBride from one of the main roads in town.
One of the things you can't dismiss is, as we talk about the season, your team obviously goes some places, number of games that you play, and the number of people who actually come into town who actually follow their teams.
Right.
This is a tourism piece.
It really is, and I can't stress it enough when I think about all the parks that are in the City of Richmond Parks Department, which there are a lot of those. But McBride is one of those top facilities that the general public, athletes, their families, college coaches, scouts from out of town, they're all making their way into McBride Stadium. They're punching in 201 Northwest 13th Street to get here. And so we want to do our best to showcase the facility. Even though it does have some challenges, there's a great atmosphere here. You don't find this type of facility around much anymore. The horseshoe, lawn seating, all of the additions that's been made over the years with the clubhouses, with the offices, the restrooms, the concessions, all of those things are added pieces to what was originally built in 1936. So it's nice to see that structure get the attention, but it is definitely a challenge to keep up with the expectations of leagues, of other teams that we play against, and what do they have compared to what we can offer.
Right.
Because essentially, I recall, in my own family with my brother who played at IU, you look at different options and what is the best situation for a college athlete, and why do they end up picking a certain school or a certain community to play for? And when it comes down to it, they look at, okay, we've got clubhouses, we've got athletic training facilities, our coaches have offices, there's away rooms, we have access to local workout facilities. I mean, those are things that are important to athletes.
Right.
And so while they maybe not focus so much on the actual city, but what we can offer from the Jazz perspective definitely influences whether they decide to come and play here, because it's ultimately the athlete's decision. I mean, a coach may say, hey, we want to send this guy to you, but at the end of the day, that guy's got to want to come here and play.
Sure. When you look at some of the changes that are being made this year behind us, we can obviously see, I assume this is going to be the new press box, and there had been talk for a long time that the facility up on the roof, which I spent some time in,
Yes.
was a little wobbly.
Right.
They're doing something a little different with this. Is this one of those things that you think will go up now, but maybe get changed as some people have a chance to see it, and you look around at how it maybe changes the experience for some people through the years? Having more conversation with the parks, with the mayor, with whoever, to make things more amenable that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for a challenge for them is obviously the press box had to come down. I mean, that was a situation that, from a structural standpoint and some other key points, that had to be removed from where it was currently located. So they've had some challenges, and so have we, is where is the right place to actually just insert a building that 8 to 10 people need access to every night, and they want to have the best view possible.
Sure.
And so how do you put that into this? And so, some challenges about location and spots and how do we make this and all that kind of things. And we rely on the Parks Department for that, for their expertise, and the engineering department to be able to put something together that, we can utilize. May it be the way that we would want it? Probably not, maybe, I don't know. But it's not our facility. We're fortunate to be able to utilize this facility. We pay fees to be here and use this place, and so we go with the flow. And this is where the press box will be located. And so we'll share that with our staff this year coming in, and it'll be an adjustment, but it is what it is. I mean, change is not necessarily a bad thing. So we'll see what the view looks like from there. I'll Facebook Live that a few times this summer.
Okay. You have been around, we talked about at the start of this, baseball in Richmond for over 15 years. We're here, grass on the other side of the screen is getting mowed, the field, few lines heading down first or second. You're less than a week, a little bit more than a week away from the start. Do you still get a thrill as you think about baseball?
I'm always excited. My passion is here. It's a passion because, one, we're able to be in Richmond, Wayne County, which is a place I call home. And then on top of that, McBride is standing, and it's a place that I hold very dear to my heart. It's kind of my home away from home. I spend a lot of time here, sometimes very quietly, but sometimes very fan-filled and exciting. But yeah, opening days are it's always running. Like it's running through me, and so my checklist keeps getting bigger instead of smaller. And you want to cram all these things in by opening day because you want everything to be the best. You want everything to be in good shape and to look good, and you want to be praised for how your facility looks. And so, we take pride in that, and our staff will commit to doing what we can while we're here in the few short months we're here to do what we can. And like I said, we gained access just a little over a week ago to McBride. We are not here year round, which is a change from the past.
Right.
So we are coming into a situation where we, look around and we start to create our own lists as well of things that need to be done. But we're certainly excited for opening day, and we know there'll be a first pitch thrown at 7:05 on Tuesday, June 12th, and we want to have the support of our fans and our community to come out and see the great baseball.
We'll have some great fireworks displays following some ball games.
Yes, the fireworks are back for sure. Very excited about that. It's a fan favorite. So
yes.
We have three shows this year, but a complete list of all of our promotions are online at our website at richmondjazzbaseball.com. And you can also follow us on a multitude of social media. So I think we have every aspect. So
sounds good.
Yeah.
Deanna Beaman, the Richmond Jazz. Thanks for spending some time with us. I hope you have a great summer.
Thank you so much.
Coming up on the next episode of Access to the Arts, we'll have a conversation with the Richmond Shakespeare Festival about their upcoming season. Richmond Civic Theater talks about their upcoming fundraising dinner theater night. Richmond Community Schools Assistant Superintendent Chuck Reynolds talks about the relationship between the arts and the high school. And Symphony in the Park with the Richmond Community Orchestra. That's Access to the Arts, Thursday nights at 9 on WETV, Channel 20. Keep up with local government information and shows with WGTV Online. Go to WCTV.info and click on the WGTV Online button. It's a live stream and video on demand site in one. Click the play button, you'll see whatever's on the air on WGTV Channel 11, or scroll down for videos on demand. Choose whatever meeting or show you'd like to watch. It's easy to stay informed with WGTV Online, a service of Whitewater Community Television. Thanks for watching this week's episode of In Focus on WGTV Channel 11. Want to remind you that if your not-for-profit organization has an event that you'd like to put on the community calendar, send it to us at least a couple of weeks ahead of time. Just send a flyer to wctv@iue.edu. We'll be happy to get it on for you. A couple of things you want to be aware of. There's a Glow Dance Ultimate Teen Program taking place, Boys and Girls Club at the Jeffers Club, 1717 South L Street. That's coming up tomorrow night, 5:30 to 7:30 for ages 8 to 12. If you need more information, check out the Boys and Girls Club website or give them a call at 962-6922. Indiana Children in Nature, a free event, Saturday, June 9th. Drop in between 10 and 11, area north of Building 203 on the State Fairgrounds for Birth to 5. Envision Your Future. Vision board creation taking place at RAM, Richmond Art Museum, June 9th. From 10 to 2:30 p.m. Check out richmondartmuseum.org or call 966-0256 for more information. Cope Environmental Center, Gravity of Nature. Registration is not required for this. Check it out. That's taking place Saturday from 12:30 to 2. Information at 855-3188. Veterans Writing Workshop of Richmond, second Saturday of each month. From 2:30 to 4 p.m. in room 912 East Main Street. For more information, check out the website listed on the screen. Neighborhood Movie Night, one of the great things about summer. These are always taking place. This one at Middle Fork Reservoir. Bring a chair. It's absolutely free. It takes place at 8:30. Nut Job 2 is the movie that you can check out. Also, Picnic Me Up concert series every Wednesday in June and July from 11:30 until 1. That's taking place at Jack Elstro Plaza. That is part of Food Truck Wednesdays at Elstro Plaza. You can hear the humming of the mower in the background. Thanks again to our guests, Steve Borchers, also Caleb Smith and Deanna Beaman. We'll talk to you again next week for another edition of In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11.